Good morning. It's Roger Lewis. I've been following the US election, and what I've been particularly interested in is the voter irregularities. Now, I've done a couple of recent blogs on this. I also did a video about the background states, how that's the electoral college is really where this election is going to be taken down to the wire. The polls obviously have evaporated into a very close race. On election night, Donald Trump was ahead. The mail-in ballots were then coming in, and depending whether in-person votes were counted first or mail-in ballots were counted, the race sort of seesawed. Then at 4 o'clock in the morning of 4th of November, so this is when they're counting all the votes cast on 3rd of November, the vote for the Democratic candidate Joe Biden. So where is this actually at now? Where are we at? Well, the battleground states, you recall, were Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, possibly Florida, Arizona, and Nevada. There were questions as to whether or not Texas would come into play in a Biden landslide, etc. Okay, so presently, things. This is the ABC News interactive. So you can see here that this is Georgia with 9% of expected counted, and this is showing the Democrat Joe Biden on 49%, and the Republican candidate, the sitting president, President Donald Trump, the Republican candidate at 2,456,781 votes. Now, that's turned around dramatically since the night. There was a substantial lead there. Then, if you look at North Carolina, this is seesawed, but President Trump is still in the lead in this with 98% of the votes counted. Pennsylvania has been called for Mr. Biden. And the margin there at the moment is 45,103 votes different. Michigan went at the moment 99% counted, and there's a 3% margin up to President Biden, Mr. Biden, President-elect, if you listen to mainstream media. Wisconsin was a dead heat with a 20,539 margin between the two. Arizona still counting, where 98% of votes counted. Nevada is 2% margin in favor of Joseph Biden. 97% counted. Alaska, which is currently 62%, 34% to President Trump. So, and then this is the map here, which is the interactive map for changing state around. So, I'm just going to do something here. I did it last night. If, for instance, Alaska is going red, we know that. So if we say Arizona goes red, Georgia goes red, right? Okay. On that basis, you have, because Joseph Biden still got Pennsylvania there, he would still win. But if Wisconsin goes red and there's an appeal in Wisconsin, it would be a dead heat. Now, let's just look at Wisconsin here. it is 49-49. There's one still to be counted. You can click on the different counties and see. You can see the blue ones. These are the counties that have gone Democrat, and these are the Republican ones. So anyway, you can dig down into these. You know, just by, these are online. You can have a look at them in your own time. So next window I've got open here. This is the voter turnout in US elections, the Wikipedia article. And here we see that the turnout in 2016's election had been 136,669,276 of 230, nearly 231 eligible voters, which was just under a 60% turnout. And in 2020, we're looking at between 66 and 72% turnout. Okay, that is a very high turnout for a US election. Now, when you get to the possibilities for spoofing an election or ballot stuffing or whatever, the higher the turnout of the actual in-person vote, the harder it is to conceal ballot stuffing. Take me on my word at that. You go away and look at it, but you'll find that that's pretty much the case. So that's an interesting question, and that question is this idea of scorecard and hammer. And there's some interesting videos, one in particular which shows in a gubernatorial race in very real time, you can see that the ongoing vote count for Republican went down as votes were added to the other candidate, because to make the overall totals tally, you have to effectively switch votes across. And because there's an order of operations in a computer program, if you add something onto something else and then take it off somewhere else, there's a split second when there's an order of operations, i.e. you do one thing, then you do the other thing, which can leave a total actually showing the line, as it were, because all of a sudden you don't lose a bunch of votes on an ongoing count. Now, that's an interesting point, but it's kind of a side point, really, in that what I want to get to. All those points are covered in. Now, what's this? This is some code which allows people to look at. Let me just get. Where are we? This is the API. This link here is all of the data of the different races, and then you can interrogate that data. And this basically is a script which puts the information there, and then you can pull and compare different voting trends or whatever out of basically the data set. That's what that is. Now, right, bear with me. When I just do this, I'm getting to the interesting bit in a minute, which is the legal bit. But let's have a look. Where are we? Here we are. Was this one? Look. Now this is this thread here, which I tweeted out yesterday. So that's the paste bin. So that's the data set that then all this analysis here is then basically reasoned through as to what you would expect to see happen. Mail-in ballots, and then it talked about this 4 o'clock cutoff point where the trend lines actually then depart from what you'd expect to see, and statistically the probability of that happening is pretty low. And I did a blog actually called Poincarier's Loaf. This is my blog here, not the Grove Street Journal. You can see just do it slowly. Anyway, if you go down, you get to some video and analysis, including that tweet that I showed you with that data set, and then also this lady here did this tweet, which is also talking about these coats, the vote switchings that come in at this particular time of day. So anyway, that's a long introduction, okay, and in summary, to bumper sticker that is there is a prima facie and on the face of it grounds for suspecting that something is amiss. There are a few things, anomalies, call them what you will. There are things that raise suspicion about this, and it's an important point that there's this election which is absolutely at a key point in the political direction of not only the United States but the rest of the world. I mean, I'm sat here in Sweden, I'm a British citizen, and you know, to my American friends, you know, to any Americans that actually watch this, it affects us as well. I mean, we're interested in your election because the US is all part of the world. I mean, I've spent quite enjoyed my time in the United States, and I really do, you know, I like the American people. I've been treated very kindly there, and people are generous and they're nice, and you know, obviously, you know, I don't hate America. I'm very fond of the place and the people, and it's not nice to see people at each other's throats. And I'm sure lots of American friends have looked at, say, the Brexit arguments in the UK and the divisions there, and sort of think, oh, it's such a shame, because in these things you have friends on either side of the argument. So but it's really important, and if democracy is degraded in the United States or in the United Kingdom or here in Sweden where I live, or you know, or anywhere really, that is, it's worth fighting for. Ron, it's really important that the old maxim in legal terms is that justice does not only have to be done, it's seen to be done. And these waving these things off as they are in the mainstream media, nothing to see here, is you know, what's the rush? A new president isn't inaugurated until January, and the electoral college doesn't sit until December, and you know, you want to know that there's a legitimate result at the end of the day. So Here's why I think that legitimate result is, there's every chance that this will be sorted out. Which way it goes remains to be seen. But if every legal vote is counted, which I believe it will be, well, let's have a look. Now, the thing, I saw a tweet. This guy, Richard Pilger, has resigned, and a bunch of people had put on President Trump's timeline a lot of emotive stuff, sort of saying, oh, obviously he's resigned because he thinks there's something up. And, there has been a lot of political partisanship throughout the whole of the Donald Trump presidency, where people have let their political leanings interfere with their public duties. Now, you may think, oh, it's what a naive thing to say. Of course they do. Well, there are certain principles in law, well, and in politics really, where you have to put the overarching interests of your community above those of personal political affiliation or political gain. That's kind of a founding idea of political economy and political philosophy, going all the way back, where we expect a certain degree of virtue in our politicians and in our business leaders and in citizens. The bar we set high. Clearly that's eroded over the years, and at the moment we're confronted with some fairly unpleasant truths. Now, Michel Montaigne, the French philosopher, crudely put it that even kings and princesses shit. Well, we talk about human beings here, and we all have our failings and all the rest of it. But doing the right thing, if you're in a position of responsibility, of authority, etc., the general idea is that we all raise our hand and this political partisanship, when you're in a position where you're not supposed to have any conflicts of interest or etc., it's an important point. But anyway, yeah, this Ballotpedia came, and I'm familiar with Ballotpedia. You'll find links to it on our Wiki Ballot wiki, and Wiki Ballot is basically it's a way of getting local democracy, people locally, to get their voice out and make sure that their representatives are representing them outside of two-party or even one-party state structures, i.e. you want people that go and represent you in whatever forum, political forum, whatever, are actually acting in accordance with the people that they're representing, with their interests. So Ballotpedia, you'll find references to it in Wiki Ballot, but they have got this wonderful Ballotpedia's 2020 election help desk, tracking election disputes, lawsuits, and recounts. Okay, so you remember we looked at those states: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. That's Wisconsin. Hold on a second. What's up there? Let me just see what we're doing here. Michigan. Okay, so that's Michigan. All right, Michigan, Wisconsin. So let's just get back here. There we are. U.S. affecting November 3rd general election. So we get what have we got? So that's Supreme Court. Right, lawsuits and recounts. Okay, so that's Michigan, there's Wisconsin, there's Pennsylvania, there's South Carolina, Georgia rather, that's North Carolina. So, and if we scroll down here, there's a tabulated thing sort of saying what the date that the cases are filed, a bit of a summary, and there are links to orders, complaints, etc. So that's tabulated there, and then you come down the page, and then there are useful summaries. So noteworthy lawsuits in the 2020 presidential election. Okay, so Arizona, and then there's a written summary of here. So on November the 7th, the Trump campaign filed suit against Secretary of State Katie Hobbs and Maricopa County election officials in Maricopa County. Okay, so you can read these in your own time. It's Ballotpedia, and it's 2020 election help desk. Then Georgia, enforcement of election laws and securing ballots cast or received after 7 p.m. November the 3rd. Okay, so then, and there's a summary there of that lawsuit. Issue whether the challenger was illegally prevented from participating in the review process. Nevada. There you go. Issue whether Clark County election officials could use artificial intelligence to verify mail-in ballot signatures and make copy of ballots whose originals could not be machine processed. Outcome: Nevada Supreme Court declined to block a lower court's order on the question, allowing officials to continue using the aforementioned procedures. So, written summary of this case. Trump came in the Republican processing procedures. The Supreme Court unanimously rejected Republicans not demonstrated sufficient likelihood of success to merit a stay or injunction. The court agreed to hear the case at a later date. So that's still pending. Now, when these Twitter things appear on your Twitter feed saying election fraud are disputed and all the rest of it, well, damn right they're disputed. This is a legal process, and the legal process involves both sides stating their case, presenting evidence, and also producing documents in discovery that the other people ask for, and then going before learned judges or panels of learned judges in increasingly superior courts as different issues of law come up. So, and where there are novel issues of law which have not been ruled upon before, appeals are generally allowed going forward, and you end up at the Supreme Court, and that's where a lot of these things are going to end. Now, how often will extraordinary times? Well, of course we are. We've had this worldwide pandemic action response to the influenza pandemic, to COVID-19, which originated in December of 2019 in Wuhan, China, and we've been living through the response to this phenomenon ever since, and this election in the United States was held during this bit, a mail-in ballot seen as a response to stopping or trying to stop the spread of this novel coronavirus. Okay, now whatever one believes about, you know, what that there has been a response to a pandemic phenomena, and this election has been held and things have been done slightly differently and adjusted to take account to the response of this pandemic phenomena, which the world's political establishments have said we all need to respond to. That's as diplomatically as I can put that. Now, when it then comes down to these court processes, you can see that the die has been cast, and you know they're tumbling on the table, and where they fall, whether you can get a pair of eights or Joe Biden, or a pair of eights if you're President Trump, that has been decided with the legal votes that have been cast, and the process that is currently at hand in court relates to the legal counting of the legally cast votes. And that is what you'll find on Ballotpedia, and there are lawsuits, and the races, even as on the ABC website, but we're talking very narrow margin here. So there's not Joe Biden in-person voting landslide in favor of President Trump, and this is all about the size of the mainland. And one particular I just want to highlight and read in a bit more detail is this one here. Now, is that the one I want? State Michigan, Georgia. I think it's this one. Here. So in Pennsylvania, which is Pennsylvania is very important, even though there is a route to a win for Donald Trump without Pennsylvania. For instance, if Wisconsin, which is a dead heat, goes the other way, if Nevada goes the other way, so Nevada could be the deciding state to break that tie. Arizona, Nevada. So you can, I mean, you can play about with these until the cows come home, really. But on that basis, it's a tie, even with Pennsylvania still with Joe Biden. Pennsylvania, if that goes to President Trump, Wisconsin stays blue, and then Arizona goes the other way. There you see Arizona, it comes down to the wire there. That on that basis, it would be down to that one as far as the wire goes, if you like. On that basis, again, North Carolina, the permutations are quite substantial, but Pennsylvania, where there are 20 electoral college votes there, and so the permutations around Pennsylvania do. I mean, it's not. I believe it's actually called the Keystone State, isn't it? Because of its flat. But anyway, Pennsylvania, Keystone State in more ways than one. So let's just have a look at this. here, and this is the pleadings to the court regarding the let's just read the bit. Here we are. So, for a position for a writ of certiorari, which means making something certain, resolve the important questions of federal law, blah blah. And where are they? Here we are. Right. In recent days, Respondent Secretary of State Bukvar has issued two guidance documents, one on October 28th, the other on November the 1st, related to absentee and mail-in ballots received after the General Assembly's election day, received by deadline of 8 p.m. on election day, and before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's extended deadline of 5 p.m. on Friday, November the 6th. Both guidance documents recognize that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's extended deadline is applicable, if at all, only to ballots returned via the US Postal Service. Mail-in absentee ballots, blah, blah. And then it says it's Supreme Court segregation guidance. There's a PDF here linked to. So Secretary's October 20th guidance purported to direct county boards of elections to segregate all such late arriving ballots from all other voted ballots, to maintain those ballots in a secure and safe and sealed container separate from other voter ballots. That, I think, is, apart from the tabulation computing question, which is a big question, and goes to the heart of the security state and something called the Hammer and Scorecard computer program. But this is a much more sort of mechanical aspect of this thing, and this segregation of ballots and this pleading here. I think if you read the whole of this, as it applies to Pennsylvania, but applied applicably to the other cases, this is the nub, the meat, I think, of where this is all headed. And on this basis, in Pennsylvania, I am hugely skeptical that the Democrat candidate Joseph Biden won in Pennsylvania. I find that incredibly difficult to believe. It's not a question of accepting it, it is implausible in my view. Which to take is well laid out. These sorts of things are not new. You had the hanging chads in the 2000 election in Florida. If you remember, that was the other way around. Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida in 2000, and his brother George W. Bush II became president there. And if you remember, Al Gore was president-elect until actually some weeks later, and George Bush came in. And then similarly in 2014, John Kerry did concede. Now, there's a lot of clamor in the media to try and get President Trump to concede. There's no sign from what President Trump says in his Twitter communications, and certainly with respect to his legal team here. There's another maxim about the British legal system. I have no doubt it applies equally well to the United States, both of which are founded on common law. And that maxim is that in the British justice system, you get the best justice that money can buy. Now, that's a kind of a cynical poke at the legal process, if you have the resources to fight, it's wonderful. I've been involved in litigation myself in the British courts, and have had have we been to the Court of Appeal? I'm not quite sure. I think we have. There's a case called Second Presidents of Red Bull Investments, long-style holdings against Red Bull Investments Limited, and Evans, and I'm one of the respondents to that, the Lewis party, and it's about contract law and stuff. But we sadly had a couple of years cycle back in the early 2000s. We won and got costs and all the rest of it, but thoroughly unpleasant experience. But you do learn quite a lot, and if you can afford it, you're in with a good chance, because in an even fight, it is brilliant, has to be said. Well, here we go. This is serious stuff, and this will be an even legal fight in the courts. And as both parties aren't going to have any trouble paying for their half of it, and the best lawyers, it will actually be an interesting thing to look at, and it's a fight in the courts for American democracy itself, in my opinion. I'm glad, for one, that President Trump is hanging in there and fighting it. And you know, for my own personal reasons, I hope that Donald Trump wins. I personally think he's been a good president. I think Joe Biden would be a terrible president. I think Kamala Harris would be too. I think the world dodged a bullet. President Trump got elected in 2016. I think Hillary Clinton would have been an absolutely appalling president. And already we're seeing the war hawks lining up behind Joe Biden and all that they claim to stand for, the progressive values, human values, etc. And you find, though, personally, all these days in a conservative libertarian, in the Donald Trump aspects of political economy, than you do with the more globalist way of doing things. And the response to the pandemic, characters such as Bill Gates, who I find repugnant, the degrees of censorship, etc., going on and all the rest of it. But hey, this name calling, right? Okay, I mean, Bill Gates, he's his share of legal risks in the past, protecting his own monopolistic practices, and he's lost for all his money. When there's an even legal fight and you get down to jurisprudence, the system really works. So and it's an even financial fight, and this is a fight which I think you'll find that the Democrats are not relishing, because, as I say, there is prima facie grounds for investigation here, and preliminary investigations are showing malfeasance, and it's in the data even more serious than that. Just on that, I'm just, in closing, gonna just open up my BitChute channel here, and there's this film here, Hacking Democracy, 2006. I've been using this Stop the Steal hashtag, and this is a documentary about voting software and hacking voting software. That's a documentary made in 2006. I'd recommend anyone watching that. 2006, 14 years ago, actually database technology, graph-based computing has come on a reasonable amount, but a lot of what is available in the proprietary hardware, including proprietary software scenes such as voting machines, there's a lot of money for old rope in computing. I mean, famously, recently in the UK, we had the British government paying billions for a database still using Microsoft Excel, which famously doesn't have enough sort of a million or so boxes. You run out of box. Yeah, same thing here. There's a lot of bullshit in big corporate computing. Truth is, they're not very good at it. So I'm an open source guy, GNU Linux guy. Richard Stallman's my hero. There are a few others, but you know, he's my computing hero, who wrote all the GNU libraries and stuff. So this is the thing, you see, about this computer stuff. It's a double-edged sword, and you know, I think once the hacking community gets motivated, and you know, they're not all bleeding heart liberals, so anyway, make of that what you will, but this is gonna get seriously interesting. So yeah, pull up a chair, get out your popcorn, and you know, may the honest man win is all I would say. Advert appearing there. So signing off there, just to recap, here it is, Ballotpedia presidential election 2020, and then there's the table of the lawsuits. Anyway, it's a good site, Ballotpedia, and you'll find other stuff about it on our site, which is lovely. The idea of primaries in the British election system, really, but you know, have a look. And then my own blog. You'll see the last few. I'll just scroll through them. So it's orange load of bread. What was a statistician? Is selling weight loads of, and the guy continues to do afterwards, and basically worked out that the distribution regarding the loaves of bread that he was receiving from the broker it wasn't really possible that he could always get a slightly overweight loaf of bread every time he bought one. And so he realized that the baker was still up to his old tricks. So this idea of the miller having his thumb on the scales, the baker selling under weight loaves of bread, weights and measures, meteorology is the science of weighing and measuring stuff, so the statistics about weighing and measuring stuff is fundamental to the idea of an even distribution, of a fair divvying up, if you will. So that's what Poncari's loaf of bread is referring to. Then what else have we got here? So that was that one. I did just go to home here. Just scroll down. Which I did yesterday. Then build back better fourth industrial revolution, COP19 agenda 2030, like Fry. That's my cynical look at so these things, and then these different films are just things I've uploaded over the years. This is Lieutenant General Thomas McInnery talking about scorecard and the hammer. It's quite an interesting interview. It's a big new Brzezinski. Shortly, the public will be unable to reason or think for themselves. They'll only be able to parrot information they've been given the precise for any truth. But have a look at Ballotpedia and have a read of that. These pleadings, which link to from there. If I have time, I'll stick the links in the description. And I've frozen, I think. How annoying is that? Right, sorry for the interruption there. I've just rebooted my machine. So just signing off. Thanks for watching. I was up to here talking about is that coming up? Everything's terribly slow. Right, here we go. That screen there you want. Share. Right, so here we go. The next was saying I'm going to sign off there because I'm hitting some. So if you scroll down, you'll see that I do one about the battleground states, talking about which states were going to be going down to the wire, etc., and why I didn't combine and get the landslide, which even with the ballot anomalies, he you know, basically, I mean, the country need to be more high, and yet they're the pros. Yeah. Well, go figure. Anyway, signing off. Thanks for watching.